self-control, self-mindedness, self-restraint, willpower, strength of will, determination, resolution, tenacity, firmness of purpose, persistence. All of these are words that describe self-discipline. Self-discipline is you acting on your greater conscience to do the right thing for yourself and in any situation. If there is one area in your life that needs greater discipline, that needs you to faithfully take action each and every time, this episode will help you uplevel your self-discipline and with the right mindset to continue in the habits and best practices that will build self-mastery, allowing you to achieve the accomplishments you seek now and for the rest of your life. In each episode of the Wisdom Podcast, I share both spiritual and practical wisdom, together with the insights, offerings, and truth that have helped others live their greatness, conquer their fears, heal from the experiences of their past, be resilient, live empowered and free, and of course, of their authentic happiness. You may hear your own story in some of the stories of my clients who have healed themselves, become in control of their life, and reclaimed their authentic power. Seeking a deeper understanding and meaning of life awakens us to discover our purpose and to witness infinite beauty and joy that is so abundant. Each episode is meant to offer something beautifully relevant and timely for you. Let the sacred path that you are on be one that you choose deliberately, based on the inspired wisdom of your inner truth. And as you live a beautiful and love-filled life. I think of self-discipline as a superpower because it is precisely what brings the inertia into the present moment for you to take action. It is what stops the chatter of the mind and overrides the old scripts that you replay with new language, the determination that says quite instinctively, I can do this, and I am doing this. Self-discipline could be exactly what you are missing and what keeps you from living your life in the way that you deeply desire. So to ask yourself, how self-disciplined am I? Be wholly honest with your answer. And where in my life do I need to be more self-disciplined and how? These make great journal prompts for you to better self-examine the areas of your life that need self-discipline. Self-discipline is so important that it is the single identifying criteria as to whether you get things done and in a timely manner. Self-discipline stops the procrastination effect and the relinquishing of responsibility. And it is the solution if you've ever struggled with unproductive or self-sabotaging habits that limit your potential. In this episode, we take a deep dive into the mechanisms that you need to build self-discipline, including how to uplevel your self-discipline in a way that supercharges your decisions and the actions you take to support you in all of the best practices that you will live. And if you are a parent, this episode will be most helpful as it reminds you of the importance of setting the right example, because your children will see the incongruity between what you say and what you do. Your actions speak louder than your words. Your children will learn the habits that you hold, including a lack of self-discipline. Hannah and I began working together as her mom was worried about Hannah's indifference to sleeping in, to missing multiple days of school in a given week, And on days when she arrived, it was late and only because she would rely on her father to pick her up and drive her to school. Hannah was behind in several courses and failing too. At 15, Hannah lived with her mom and spent 1 or 2 nights a week and the occasional weekend at her dad's house. Her parents had divorced more than 5 years ago. Hannah's mother, Leslie, described this relationship as abusive and damaging. Her former husband, David, was on long-term disability because of his ongoing cancer treatments. Thankfully, he was in remission, yet he continued to be manipulative and controlling in his role as a co-parent, and often belittled and blamed Hannah's mother for the struggles that Hannah had waking herself up in the morning and getting to school. David did not see his encouragement of Hannah to take rides from him as promoting a codependent behavior and a lack of self-discipline. As parents, we can make it too easy for our children to do less than what will help them gain confidence and life skills through self-discipline. Hannah explained to me that she truly wanted to get up early and have time to properly get ready for school, to do her morning skincare routine, which she was really proud of, and to have time to make herself a snack to take for lunch, and to have breakfast with her mom. Hannah described how much better she felt about herself when she gave herself the luxury of enough time in the mornings to do the basic yet important habits that would set her day up well. Since Hannah lived with her mom, the majority of driving Hannah to her volleyball and dance practices and to tournaments and dance recitals fell on Leslie's shoulders. David was largely absent from the responsibilities of daily parenting. When Hannah would stay over at her father's or spend time with him on the weekend, David took on the role of the fun parent. He would buy endless amounts of clothes and other gifts for Hannah, and take her out for dinner where the conversation would often find its way to something that Hannah's mother was doing wrong, that David could speak badly about. David was undisciplined in how he led his life and with little responsibilities. He did not plan to work again, even though he had been in remission for more than 3 years. As a parent, he made little to no demands on Hannah when she stayed with him, including allowing her to stay up as late as she wanted on school nights and weekends. You learn self-discipline from observing the attitude and the behaviors of your parents and other caregivers. Self-discipline is most definitely a life skill. It is something that we all need, and the more that we can excel in this skill, the easier it is to accomplish, achieve, and build greater confidence and self-esteem through action, effort, and the tangible results we see. Self-discipline is what promotes your readiness to change, and it is also what makes it possible to see your change through, rather than giving up or never really getting started. You can receive help and guidance from others, and yet ultimately it is you that you must rely on for your happiness, for goals achieved, and for the small daily habits and routines that culminate in a far greater purpose through your deliberate actions and the will and resolve that you hold. As an executive function, self-discipline is a cognitive process that is necessary for regulating one's behavior in order to achieve specific goals. It's also the ability to regulate one's emotions, thoughts, and behavior in the face of temptations and impulses, and to overcome one's weaknesses. It is the ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon this. Self-discipline is the ability to push yourself forward, to self-motivate, and to take action. It was something that Hannah needed desperately, and it was also a conscious choice that she needed to make if she wanted to follow in the habits that her mother exuded seemingly effortlessly, as Leslie had an important corporate job and still managed to balance the many other obligations in her life and to get things done and be responsible. What motivates you to be self-disciplined? Do you see self-discipline as an acquired trait, a skill, a learned behavior, and a daily habit that you proudly embody? I want you to first think about what you need to be more disciplined in. For Hannah, it was not just getting up at 6:15 with her alarm. It was the whole ritual of setting her clothes out the night before so that they would be ready for her in the morning. It was no longer snacking late into the night, the carbohydrate-laden foods that would make her sleepy and unmotivated to finish her studies. Her digestive system working overtime at night, keeping her body from restoring itself in the way that it was designed when we sleep on an empty stomach. Hannah would no longer have that sluggish hangover feeling the next morning and craving the rest that her body did not properly receive. Hannah also needed an earlier bedtime because in participating in dance and volleyball a minimum of 4 nights a week, Hannah needed the rest. And finally, self-discipline for the endless amount of time that Hannah devoted to her social apps and talking with her friends. Sometimes the endless scrolling on her iPhone created stressors of their own and feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. Self-discipline is about curtailing the activities that are not serving you, that are detrimental to your well-being, even though they may seem like harmless distractions. It's simple enough to be on your phone or another device late at night, but what are the more disciplined and healthier bedtime rituals that would quiet and soothe your mind, that would offer self-reflection of the day, and that would get you ahead of tomorrow as you think about what is top of list when you wake? What about a meditation or an evening yoga practice that is restorative and that prepares you for sleep? What about gratitude for all that is in your life and of the discipline you are building towards greater worldly endeavors? Self-discipline isn't only about having a strong will to make yourself do the right things when you would rather do what is easy. In Hannah's case, it was rethinking the teachings that she had adopted that were learned behaviors of her father and not truly helpful to her. In our sessions, we had carefully mapped out all of the healthy practices and the supports that would help Hannah wake to her alarm, including the handwritten sticky notes that she would easily see on her physical alarm clock that, upon waking, would be some of the helpful reminders of this new morning habit and why waking up early was important to her. It's definitely helpful to know how your self-discipline is going to serve you. It's also important you practice the new self-talk and internal dialogue that will overlay what excuses and reasons you have previously used to sway yourself from what you can do. If you have one important quest each day that you must be responsible for, that no one can do for you, and something that you truly look forward to, would it be easier to hold discipline for this? We all need to find the strategies that individually work best for us, knowing yourself well. For Hannah, it was in looking forward to her new favorite breakfast meal and the feeling of confidence that she would bring with her to school each day that she made herself get up with her alarm and do all of the routines that supported this. It was in reminding herself of the new habits that Hannah wanted to have each time that she got herself up early, and even when she was still tired, knowing that the habits she was building were important for not only now, but the rest of her life. Hannah began to make the connection between doing the right thing, being self-disciplined, and being successful in her life. If you examine the places in your life where you drop the ball, where you let yourself down, where you give in too easily and too readily because you've told yourself that something is too difficult or requires too much effort, this is a lack of self-discipline. You may also need to change what you do if it is something that is not aligned with your highest values, so that you can build the self-discipline that you need towards what is really important and to what will help you fulfill your goals. If you are the parent of a teen struggling to develop the important habits of self-discipline, consider what you have been teaching your child. Are you emulating the behavior that you want your child to learn? And here is a short list of the 3 best practices to acquire which will produce self-discipline. Number 1, self-honesty. Where do you need to be more disciplined? How will you be more disciplined? For example, is it in your personal fitness habits? Is it around your choices in healthy eating? Do you, like Hannah, need to fine-tune some of your daily life habits so that you can feel better about yourself as you step into each day? With an honest look at the places where you need to raise the bar, to be more self-accountable and self-motivated, you can begin to define what new behaviors, life choices, practices, and certainly what new scripts you will hold in your mind that become the new mindset that you operate with. Self-observation and self-honesty are what support your self-discipline. It can be easier to not do something that you've promised yourself you will do, especially if this is something that does not affect anyone else. Yet, if your lack of self-discipline affects you negatively, or if it impedes your growth, then it is already damaging. Sometimes it may seem like it requires great momentum and effort to complete a relatively easy task. What is limiting you here is your inner self-talk, the inner dialogue that makes you self-accountable and also has a propensity to let you give up. Being self-honest and observant is recognizing the moments when you talk yourself out of something that you need to do, and to no longer make it easy to disavow yourself in this way. Number 2, determination. This is the part where you hold resolve, dedication, and perseverance for what is wanted. This is where you parent yourself. You make yourself follow through with the actions that you need to take, and to no longer allow excuses, procrastination, and giving up hold you back. This is the most difficult part of this protocol because it requires change in thinking and mindset for habits that have already been long-standing. Once you determine what requires greater self-discipline, you next determine your plan of action. When you find yourself making excuses or giving in to a tendency that you have that stops you from what is truly wanted, take notice, which is step 1. Be aware and self-honest with yourself. You must be willing to recognize when you are repeating old habits in order to replace these with your resolve and the new and complete steps that will carry you through, and using the effort that is needed. What will be your new discipline? What is the one new behavior or several that will support you best in an area of your life that needs your attention. What are you waiting for? This is who you are now becoming. And finally, the third protocol for building self-discipline is the reward of growing your confidence. This is the positive feelings you hold about yourself, your self-gratitude, and the measurable rewards of seeing yourself succeed over and over. Whether in completing a single task that you've previously been procrastinating, or feeling a sense of accomplishment for what steps and actions you take daily towards a larger, overarching goal. Imagine the positive feelings and the reward of being disciplined, which in itself has a cascading effect. This is one of the strategies that you enlist for making yourself take action. It's about rewriting the narrative before, during, and after that motivates you to get things done, and then allows you to sit in a moment or two of simple pride and the confidence that is now your superpower. If you've been telling yourself that something is too difficult, or that you don't feel up to completing something, or that it's too late at night, or that you're too tired, or too old, or not flexible enough, or that you'll do better tomorrow, rewrite the narrative to get you started, to envision what the end goal and feeling will be so that you can be your own cheering squad and your biggest fan. Self-discipline is the resolve that you commit to in this moment. And because your discipline is what builds your tenacity and fuels the greater endeavors that you hold for your life. Now is waiting for you. Go and do something amazing. Thank you so much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I always love hearing from you. And where you can, I would love for you to rate the podcast. It sends out the love and lets others find the podcast as well. Sending you great love. This is Dorothy. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of the Wisdom Podcast. To hear more, please check out the other episodes right here. And I'd love for you to subscribe and share your feedback on this or any episode with me. And then join me at dorothyratusny.com, where you'll find the wisdom blog, the inspiration for this podcast, the latest online courses that I teach, my YouTube videos, and the Wisdom Archives, which are an extensive library of guided meditations, mindfulness musings, spiritual teachings, and best therapeutic practices for your whole being, and to nourish and heal your life, plus many other special offerings of love. Please also visit me on social media and say hello. Allow yourself to go within, to access your inner wisdom, and to live this. Awaken your authentic power, live your truth, and be love. Thank you. This is Dorothy.